buying a dive watch under $1,000 US. Should you buy a major brand? Should you buy a micro brand? Or should you just build something yourself using SEIKO mod parts? Well, there's pros and cons to all three, so let the competition begin.
And in the red corner is the Mido Automatic Ocean Star, powered by the Swatch Group Calibre 80, also known as the Powermatic 80 in Tissot. This is a vintage stunner. In the blue corner, representing micro brands, it's Swedish designed, it's Swiss made, it's the Tuseno Shellback, powered by the Swiss Ronda R150 movement, and again, another stunner. And in the other corner, it's the SEIKO mod build. Maybe you and I can do a better job than Swiss brands and micro brands. Will you just take a look at the dial on this one? NH35 powered workhorse as well.
All of these watches have sapphire crystals. They're all automatic dive watches. They're clearly all black. They're all 200 meter water resistant. They all have screw down crowns, and they're all under $1,000. So we'll start off by taking a closer look at each one, and let's get on with the Mido Ocean Star. And here we are then with a first look at the Mido Ocean Star. So this is one of my favorite vintage style designed dive watches that you can buy today, brand new. Which there's lots of choice, but I think Mido have done a really fantastic job on this one. I always complain about fully polished surfaces and tend to prefer brushing, but as humans tend to be, I'm going to be a massive hypocrite here and say that despite the fact that everything here is polished, it just works. It just works. You're going to have to accept scratches, of course, when you buy this, but the way it plays in the light, especially the bracelet as well, it's a really awesome piece. So it's got a matte black dial with this one. Everything is printed, nothing is applied to kind of keep the vintage feel. And it's nice that the day and date discs are matched there in the same black, so it all fits together coherently. A great thing on the Ocean Star is the pop of color with the seconds hand. So this orange seconds hand, it just stops it being too flat, stops it being too dull. It retains an edge of playfulness and keeps it interesting. Of course, the advantage with black dive watches is the versatility, so that's why I think this is a good comparison to make. They're all three of these watches are kind of go anywhere, do anything, dress up, dress down. So the star of the show for me with the Ocean Star is this amazing crystal. It's just beautiful, the way it just bends the indices. This is a 120 click bezel. It's an aluminium bezel insert. Again, it's the kind of vintage feel with the raised lume pip there at the 12 o'clock. Some knurling on the edges. It's difficult to grip this one. I really struggle with this. It would be a terrible watch for a diver if you had wet gloves on, but I do believe the majority of people buying this watch are probably not going diving, and I can forgive it because it is such a great looking watch. So the movement in this is essentially the Swatch Powermatic 80 movements. So you have the slowed rate, the 80 hours of power reserve. Flipping it over, case back has the Mido Starfish. If you've had a Mido dive watch before, you'll be familiar with this one, and some specs around the outside. So looking at the bracelet, probably the most comfortable bracelet I've ever had. This is amazing. It articulates amazingly, and it's so comfortable. So comfortable. It's kind of feels like a better version of mesh. I suppose in essence it is a giant mesh. Yeah, it's a really awesome bracelet on this. And yeah, the clasp as well, excellent. So obviously high polish, so yeah, you're gonna enjoy a world of scratches, but huge ratcheted extension. You'll have no trouble getting comfortable or dealing with your arm expanding on hot, sweaty days, and no play in that. It's really well engineered, and of course, a nice milled inner there as well. So that's a quick look at the Ocean Star, and now we're going to move on and take a look from the micro brand corner at the Tuseno. So here we are with the Tuseno Shellback. So this is quite different to the Mido in the sense that it's a bit more tooly, I think, with all of the brushed surfaces. and it's definitely gone for a more modern look. And got a nice balance here of black and white. The sandwich dial plays on this, and the white ring around the edge of the dial I think really helps to make this one stand out a little bit. So Tuseno is a Swedish micro brand. I think they've been going since around 2015. They've done a few releases, quartz and automatic, but focusing mainly on automatic releases now. The dial on this is absolutely beautiful. It's so deep. It's such a deep black. Very different to the Mido. I'll try and show you, hopefully you can see on camera, just how deep that black is on the Tuseno versus the sort of matte on the Mido. Date window is integrated well. They do a date and no date version on this one. So the bezel is ceramic on this, also a raised lume pip, just like the Mido. Obviously the seconds hand, nicely proportioned, runs right the way around that track on the outer edge of the dial. Swiss made, this one's a Ronda R150 automatic movement in here. So the hour hand on the Tuseno, actually a cool feature is, as it passes over the shellback lettering, you'll see doesn't block it, just highlights it. Small detail, but the sort of thing that us watch enthusiasts can really appreciate. And how about the bezel feel on the Tuseno? Well, it's 120 click, it's metallic-y, but it's nice. It sort of springs into place, everything fits nicely, tolerances feel good. Yeah, no complaints. Looking at the case, we have beautiful brushing on the sides with polished chamfers, nice signed crown there with the Tuseno logo. Case back also carrying the same logo and a number of specifications. This one has quick release on the bracelet, which is a nice addition I think, and a brushed bracelet again, but it catches the light nicely because again you've got these polished chamfers, so it's not too flat. It's enough to be tooly, but there's enough polished edges and chamfers to make this one dress up and wear just as well with smart attire as it does with super casual attire. And looking at the clasp on the Tuseno, so really nicely engraved with Tuseno and Gothenburg. Just like the Mido, we've got a nice ratcheting adjustment here, which is a welcome addition, and a nicely milled inner to the clasp. Anyway, that's a look at the Tuseno, and let's take a closer look now at the SEIKO Mod build. Well, this one is my own SEIKO Mod build. It's the biggest of the three in terms of diameter at 42, and it is the chunkiest, but it's worth pointing out a few of those millimeters come from this raised case back here with the sapphire window, and you can get rid of this and take off a few millimeters to kind of make it sit a little bit closer to the wrist, but I quite like this sort of porthole opening. I think it looks quite cool. So the main reason that I actually built this around 18 months ago is because I love this dial from Namoki Mods. I think it's such a beautiful pattern, and I really wanted to build something around it and keep it relatively simple so that the dial would stay as the star of the show. The more crazy bits you add on around the dial, the more it detracts from the detail within the dial. So this one, obviously dial texture aside, now we've spoken about it, has applied indices all the way around, filled up with lume, and then the hands also are loaded up with lume, as you can see, and the Lollipop Seconds hand has that splash of red just to give it a little bit of contrast and colour against all of the black here. So date window is just the regular NH35 white one. Perhaps it might have looked a little bit better colour matched, although I'm not sure if it might have been a bit too much black as well. So the bezel here is a 60 click, so it's a little bit different, but it still feels really nice, super tactile. I enjoy having a 60 click now and then. It's something a bit different when most of mine are 120 click. And it's a sapphire glass insert there. Crown, just a typical SEIKO Mods S on the crown there. Polished sides on this one, so it's well worn actually. Still holding up well, but yeah, I'm going to apologise for the scratches, as yeah, it's been in the collection for a little while. The crystal on this, not as pronounced as the Mido, but still going for that nice vintage look. Chapter ring is just plain black on this. Again, I was trying not to take away from the dial, so just to mute things where I could. A bracelet style that you're all familiar with in the world of dive watches, and just the 3 holes of micro adjust on this one. No ratcheting, quick adjust or anything like that, but you do have push button and milled inner on the clasp.
And on the wrist, despite the fact that it is a 42mm diameter, it's the shortest lug to lug, so actually it wears very nicely on my 17.5cm wrist with this SEIKO mod. Obviously it is a thick boy, I've explained that with the porthole case back. You could cut a few millimeters off, but still not the ideal dress watch, but a great fit. And to the thinnest choice here, the Tuseno. This one again wears very nicely. It feels a little bit more slab-sided, where it is a little bit less rounded on the case, and it is a little bit thinner, but a nice fit nonetheless. And then the Mido, which conforms the nicest to the wrist with that superb bracelet and the nice rounded edges on the case. And I think you're going to forgive that little bit of extra thickness just so you can enjoy that glass. Surely that's not just me, right? To conclude, all 3 of these watches have been really comfortable daily wears. And for a lume test, the winner by a country mile is the SEIKO mod with great lume. Like I said, if you buy good parts, you get great quality. The Mido is good on the hour, minute and seconds hand, but dial is terrible. And the Tuseno does a good job of being long lasting, but not exceptionally bright.
Yes or no, this is your last chance, no beating around the bush.
So where do I stand with these? They all have pros and cons. Starting with the Mido, this is a great choice if you value the prestige and the history of the brand. Mido dates back to 1918. Obviously with this, you get in a great Swiss movement, a proven Swiss movement from within the Swatch group, and you'll also get great resale value if you do ever plan to sell it in the future. But one of the problems, I mean, the movements in these, you can't really service them locally. They don't have the regulators on the balance spring, and most watchmakers are reluctant to work on them, so you generally have to send them back. And I have heard that they generally just dispose of them and replace the movement, so that's a bit of a drawback with this. Also, the retail prices are high on this. I found this one for under $900 US. I'll post a link in the description just in case you want to check it out. And that was the cheapest price I could find. The retail puts it at $11.50. I think that's slightly high on the Mido. I think it's slightly too high. Also, other drawbacks, the 21mm lug width there. It's an awkward size, isn't it? It might come with a beautiful bracelet, and it does actually come with an additional strap as well. But if you're one that wants to be chopping and changing straps and really mixing it up, 21mm is going to limit you, and it's a bit of a turn off as well. That, and also I am aware the high polish won't be for everybody, but I would encourage you to see this one in person, see it in the flesh, because I hate the idea of a high polished dive watch. I couldn't have thought of anything worse, and yet somehow I still fell in love with this one. With any of the entry-level Swiss brands, it's really, if you value the heritage of the brand and the brand story, then I think they're quite difficult to beat. So in closing, with the Tuseno and with general with micro brands, you're getting amazing value for money. At $649 USD to have an automatic Swiss movement, sapphire crystal, ceramic, sandwich dial, to have a ratcheting clasp, to have quick release, to have such fine brushing, you really are going for the spec sheet. But it doesn't mean that you can't find a bit of charm and a bit of character and something unique in addition to just a spec sheet. I think micro brands have a tendency to listen to the enthusiasts. I think with this one, you know, having a 20mm lug width, having the quick release, having female end links which were added after the prototypes, just to make this wear a little bit better on the wrist. This is examples of brands really listening to their customers. When you deal with micro brands, you tend to find you'll have direct contact with the owner in a lot of cases, which can be of benefit a lot of the time because you're dealing with somebody who really cares passionately about their product. And you'll find there's unique designs, influences from around the world. Obviously there's thousands of micro brands out there now, and I really think there is something for everybody. But if you do go down the micro brand route, you are going to be sacrificing some of the prestige, some of the history. You don't know how the future support will be for the brand. Some of these brands, you know, are relatively new, have only been around for a few years, and some of them may only make 1 or 2 watches and then disappear again, so you're not always going to necessarily have support for the watches. Typically you also get lower resale value. Obviously there's always exceptions. You look at, for example, Zelos, Mari. Some of these will sell for the same, if not more, and there is micro brands that will sell watches and they will hold their value, but generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, you're going to lose more if you're a flipper and you're buying micro brands at full price than you would do with the entry-level Swiss brands. So, but overall, I think there's such merit now in micro brands, and I think it's fantastic for us as watch enthusiasts that there is so much to choose from now in the micro brand world. And finally, the SEIKO Mod build. So the advantage of this is, of course, that you can build what you like. You more often than not will have a 1 of 1. The NH35, which this is based off, and any of the SEIKO movements, they're reliable workhorses. They don't tend to give you any trouble, and if you need to replace them at any point, they're cheap and readily available off the shelf. If you buy top quality parts, this one was made with no expenses spared, you will achieve the fit and finish of a $1,000 watch. The brushing is perfect, the polishing is fantastic. As I mentioned in my mod build video, it really depends on the quality of the parts, but if you want to go all out, then you'll get something that really does feel absolutely fantastic in the hand. Again, resale value is going to be pretty terrible on mods, SEIKO mods, unless you happen to find somebody who was looking for exactly the one thing that you've built, which is unlikely, and even then, obviously it depends on who's assembled it, how it's been assembled. There's never any guarantee of assembly quality. Another thing is, if you're going to build your own, you'll have to learn, put a bit of time and effort in to learn how to assemble mod watches, and probably buy some tools as well, although luckily prices are coming down on some of the tooling now, with more and more companies offering kits and things like that. The other thing is you're limited to off-the-shelf products unless you want to commission sort of 1 of 1 dials, which I know a few people in the Facebook groups that do this, but of course that's going to bump your cost up. And the other issue with these, you don't know how the final piece is going to come together until you've actually assembled it. You can do all the poking around in Photoshop and kind of picturing it in your mind, but ultimately you get delivered a stack of parts and then you just hope that it comes out as it did in your head, and there's no prototyping or anything with that, so if something isn't quite right, you're going to have to delay your build in order to get it fixed. But even so, this is one of my favorite builds I've ever done. I'm super proud of this one. Again, it's all about that dial. As a side note, considering the amount of awesome dials there are in the mod community, I wish more established brands would take more risks with dials and give us more interesting and more fun. It's really only SEIKO that seem to offer in the major brands some really interesting textured dials, and I wish it was more common in the entry-level Swiss market.
Yes or no, this is your last chance. No beating around the bush.
So I hope that serves as an interesting comparison. Before you even consider which watch you're going to buy, it's good to understand the differences between the micro brand world, the major brands and the entry-level Swiss, and also considering perhaps building it yourself or finding a mod builder to achieve exactly the look that you want. Obviously all 3 of these watches are in my collection for a reason, because there's different things that I really value in each one. Just on those 3 particular watches, my favourite is the Mido. I'm just an absolute sucker for the vintage styling, and this one gives me all kind of warm, fuzzy feelings. But it's not that I don't really like the other 2 watches, because I do. And that feeling that I have is specific just to this Mido, not in general to entry-level Swiss watches. More often than not, I tend to buy micro brands, and the reason is, as a watch enthusiast, I just can't look past the great value that I'm getting and the amount of features I'm getting for the money, and also I love all of the different cultural influences that I can find in a watch from around the world, and it keeps great variety within my collection. So I guess the micro brand is my most trodden path. Anyway, as I said, please let me know any thoughts, feelings or feedback in the comments. And if you're new to watches and you are hoping to find out a little bit more information on the different paths, hopefully this comparison gives you a little bit more information and helps you with making that decision. I will be back again in the future with another video, but that's over and out for now, and cheers for watching.